Hello and welcome to Women of Influence podcast. Hi, I'm Jaylen with the J Group Real Estate Team.
The Great American Speak Off.
One of my favorites.
Hey everyone, welcome to yet another Women of Influence podcast. Today I have the pleasure of having as my guest Miss Melanie White with Hellwig Products. How are you, Melanie?
I'm great. I'm even better after that music. It's a fabulous intro. I'm a big baseball fan, so I've always thought, what would be my intro to walk on to bat. And you have a great one there. So I think we should have those all the time.
Yes, thank you. Well, feel free to borrow it. I'll have to reach out to Chris, who set it up and did it for me, and be like, hey, what is that music? Nobody wants to use it.
I want to walk into life like that all the time.
Yes. So, Melanie, you are part of the fourth generation taking over this company that was founded in 1946 by your father. And very interesting. I've never seen anyone get so excited about suspension products and sway bars before as I have you. I was doing a little bit of stalking earlier and I'm like, wow, she's really enthusiastic about all this, kind of guy stuff, right?
Yeah. I've always actually been into cars. So I'm the oldest of four girls. And I was always the one that wanted to I would finagle my way. My first sales job was trying to convince my dad to let me drive his truck. He always had a fancy truck that they were putting some suspension on, and they always handled really well. So, when I was 16, I would always find a way to be like, Dad, I need to be the driver, but I need a safer vehicle. I need to borrow your truck. So I really feel like that was my first sales gig. So I've always sort of been into that. My generation in my family is there's 9 girls and 1 boy, so 10 grandchildren. And, no one else really had the interest in getting in the business. And I think it's super fun to play with cars. I've sort of always been like a Hot Wheels when I was a kid. So yeah, I feel like I just get to do that in a grown-up version now.
I love that. It's so super fun. Now, you've been breaking barriers as the fourth generation leader of Hellwig Suspension Products. You've kind of taken the helm in an industry traditionally dominated by men. So I wonder, what challenges have you faced as a female CEO in the automotive aftermarket space, and how have you navigated through them?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So no one expects, right? They'll show up to my booth at an event and they'll be like, I want to talk to the CEO, and they'll point them to me and they'll look past me. Right. It's just not. And I used to get really offended by that. And I really decided to change my approach of it. And it just isn't normal. So they're just not used to a female being the CEO of an organization, especially in the automotive aftermarket. So I give people a lot more grace. And that has helped me a lot more than anyone else. But early in my career, I once was talking to a consultant and I was complaining about being, how was it? It was more like I was being looked over because I was a female in my position. And he stopped me right then and he said, your biggest hurdle will be your age, not being a female. What you need to do is be prepared. So I did cold calling when I started in the business, which was really painful and also really good, right? I got a lot of that pain out early. So what I learned is cold calling. I was calling on these dirty garages and going in and it's just really gross places, which men are more comfortable in most of the time. And so I would go in, try to sell Hellwig to this shop. I also learned like those places normally don't buy Hellwig, so they weren't going to be my people anyways. But I learned to like, the biggest thing is I needed to know my product well. I needed to have good research. So just really, it was about like being prepared more than it was about like my sex. So I think that was like the big thing I learned early in my career. And it's really helped me continue into my position now. I'm always very prepared. I really try to be the most knowledgeable about the subject, especially the subject I'm presenting on. And so that has been something I've carried out, and just that's how I've earned my respect too.
I love that. That's so great. I can just imagine people walking into a trade show and they're asking for the CEO, and you're like, hey, that's me. There's actually brains behind this beauty here. Like, you're very knowledgeable. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fun. One of my joys is that when I get to surprise people, right? They're not expecting me to also maybe know the product either. And that's fun to surprise people.
I just love that so much. I would love to be a fly on a wall and just kind of watch you in action, spew out all of the knowledge that you have regarding suspension products and sway bars and whatever else your company produces. But I was reading a little bit about how your father originally got started. Like, you guys would literally walk around the neighborhood and look for vehicles that were sagging because they didn't have the proper suspension, right? I'm like, how fun is that? And I think you said that your dad started installing these sway bars for like $7 or something like that.
Yeah, so it's actually my great grandfather and my grandfather.
That's
so
right.
They started the business they actually had the idea in 1944. So we actually, like, our first patent is in 1944, but we didn't. We were in World War II at the time, so there was no steel available. So we couldn't even make the product at the time. My grandpa was a senior in high school, and my great grandfather had a full-time job. So they would make product at night. And I feel like this is like, the entrepreneurial story, right? They would make product at night, and then on the weekends they would go sell door to door. So it was really fun. Like, when my grandpa was still alive, he would come in and he would ask, like, where's that pallet going? And you're like, oh, well, that one's going like to Pennsylvania. And he's like, oh, where's that going? It's like, okay, that's going to an OE customer in this, right? And so for him, it was really fascinating because it was more about, like, he was going door to door, taking the product one by one, and he was the one installing it, all for $7. I don't think I even get to buy anything for $7 anymore, right? Like, there's been a bit of inflation during that time, but so just, it's interesting to have that perspective. And I love that because, while we're dealing with things like we'll ship internationally, so like customs and different things here, and maybe it's a little bit like, I won't lie, sometimes it's a little like annoying, right? But it's also thinking about, like, okay, but where did we start? And we now have this, like, it turns it, and it's helped me think about it as more of like, oh, these are just all opportunities, and it helps me feel grateful for it.
Yeah, I'm just picturing, way back in 1946 and way before we had computers and smartphones and technology, right? And literally having to handwrite everything and keep a book for your records. And I'm like, I'm just trying to imagine that. That's got to be like, that's just wild.
I know. Well, so I started 20 years ago cold calling, and I would go to areas I wasn't familiar with. And I would MapQuest everything, right? So I'd go from one location to another location. And if I took a wrong turn or skipped something, I was like kind of lost because I didn't have GPS at the time either. It was 20 years ago. So even for me, I've seen that where, like, technology, like, it doesn't matter. Like, my husband gives me a hard time because he's like, wait, you didn't look up the directions before? I'm like, no. Like, who does that?
Right?
He still does. Yeah.
So, Melanie, I'm really curious to know what your spiel was when you first started cold calling. Like, what did you say?
Yeah, so I would go in, and it's very different than what I would do now. So because I would be like, are you familiar with Hellwig Products? We do all of these great things. So just like start with like, we do load and sway control. You need to start selling this. Right? I would just like talk about like what our products do. Like if you carry a heavy load, you want our products. If your vehicle's sagging, it's not handling correctly. So I really would lead with like what our products did, where now if a few years ago, I did some cold calling, which was kind of fun. And so I would go in and be like, hey, what kind of customers do you take care of? What kind of problems are you seeing? Right. So I really changed my tactic from like shoving the product in front of their face versus like, hey, can I be of service? And I think that and so I'm so much more successful in can Hellwig be of service to you versus like, you need me, right? Like that kind of sales tactic.
Yeah, so really kind of asking the questions and identifying the problems first, the issues, and then determining if, you are going to be a good fit for their problem, right? If you're going to provide that solution they're looking for. So that's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so shifting back to the whole male-dominated environment, like what leadership qualities have been most important in earning you the respect in that male-dominated society, so to speak?
I mean, I think it'll go back to what I was sharing about my cold calling days is really just being prepared, being very knowledgeable about like what I was there to talk about or present in any way. So a lot of my position, I'm talking about Hellwig a lot. And then I also serve on the SEMA board of directors. So in July, I'll be the chair of the SEMA board of directors. And that is a position. So there has only been one other female in this position. So I'll be the second. Yeah, I'm so excited. I got to meet the woman who had filled the position before me. And I want to say she filled it 25 years ago. So it was quite some time ago. And I think really it goes down to just being prepared is so important, and taking the time to be prepared and to be knowledgeable about the subject. So in both of, with Hellwig and those meetings, and then with SEMA as well. And the big thing for me too, it's like the follow-up. When I would be cold calling, I might pretend I know a fact I don't really know. And I learned quickly, like, that's not authentic. I don't want to do that. So my goal then was, hey, go find the information. And then I would always follow up. So I think the follow-up is also really key. So just know what you know. If you don't know it, go find it out, but also like follow up on that.
Yeah, that's so good. So Melanie, tell our audience, what does SEMA stand for?
Yeah, so Specialty Equipment Market Association. So really that like automotive specialty market.
Thank you. Now, I know you've been deeply involved in SEMA and other industry organizations. What do you think the automotive industry can do to attract, support, and retain more women in leadership roles? And what advice would you give to those women aspiring to break into this field?
So I think that it's ripe for that right now. I think there have been, and I mean, I really give credit to the women who came before me. I mean, they really blazed a path. They are some of the most smartest, talented people I know. And I think they, it almost like forces you into that because you're in a bit of a pressure cooker because of that. And I think for me, one of the things too, being a woman in this field that's male dominated, people would remember me, not remember my name. Oftentimes they'll be like, there was a blonde girl at Hellwig and she helped me with something, or and it was just or there's that blonde lady. Like I get that a lot, but I think the benefit of that is that there isn't a lot of us. So there is a benefit and a way to stand out. I will say, though, that I think my industry is doing a great job of really attracting good, talented people who are passionate about the industry. And that is a lot of women. It is, I think, what this newer generation, that the way that you found out, right, about like working on cars in the past was you'd go maybe hang out with your dad in the garage. Like this newer generation does a little bit less of that. But what they're doing is like finding information on YouTube. So I recently got to interview someone for my, for Hellwig's podcast, a lady who had started her own YouTube channel because she wanted to know how to make product or to install products. And she would take on these like really complicated installations. But she was like, I don't want women to be afraid of this. So I'll film it. I'll share my experience. And so I think that's like it's so readily available that if you are passionate about it, there isn't the hurdles to understand it, to get it like there were in the past.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So women who are, somewhat willing to get a little bit dirty, put some elbow grease into it and like learn something new. And it's like, maybe it's not so scary after all, like watching another woman on YouTube, like do something to her vehicle. I'm like, wow, that's gotta be very empowering.
Yeah, I know. And she did like a whole suspension. She changed out everything in her suspension. I was like, you did? And I'm in that space, right? And I would never think my product's very easy to install. I've installed it, and she's installed my product too. But her first out of the gate was just a really hard installation. But she had access, right? Like that was the thing that so she wasn't afraid of that, which I just thought was so cool.
So this question just popped into my head, like installing one of your products with Hellwig, would you say it's easier to put together and install or harder than putting together IKEA furniture?
Mine is way easier. Way easier. It's just heavy. So we do everything out of steel, and it's like heat treated hot form steel. So it's like really sturdy. So you just might need another set of hands, but I feel like mine is way easier than IKEA furniture.
I have all these random things popping in my head.
Me too. I'm like, no fighting will happen when you install my product, right?
That's hilarious. So you mentioned something where your products are manufactured. I think that whole process would be fascinating to watch in itself, just watching, these metal shapes be formed. I'm like, how cool is that?
Yeah, it is so cool. And sometimes, I walk the plant every day, and sometimes I'll do a tour. And when I do the tours, it helps me slow down and really appreciate what we do. But yeah, we're taking hot. And so when someone sees it and you get to see it in their eyes, it's so fun because we are taking hot, like red hot metal and bending it. And then, it's dipping into an oil tank. So like the process is like pretty intense. But you don't really know that. But when you're standing in front of a furnace and you're, seeing this hot metal, it like really hits home.
Yeah, that's crazy. So Melanie, as CEO of the company, do you literally take care of everything in the organization, or how much do you delegate out?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think sometimes I should delegate more out. And then sometimes I really love knowing my business the way that I do as well. My career mostly has been on the sales side. So I started 20 years ago, cold calling. And then when I was cold calling, I realized that Hellwig needed marketing. So I said, I can do that. So I did that position for a while. And then I said, I need the title to go with it. And then I was like, we need more sales programs and different things. And so I was like, I'm filling the role of director in sales and marketing. So I was like, I'm doing that, but I need that position. And then I got into vice president, and then I started to know a lot more about the operations. And I will say in the last year, I've just dove even more into the operations, and it's super intimidating. I mean, some of these people, the folks here, they've been doing it for a long time, but there's also this, fresh eyes on the operations, like it makes a big difference. So I've really been able to come in and spend some time. We've had a lot of demand, so I've been really wanting to make sure that we are getting product out to our customers. So I've been spending a lot more time in that space. I miss seeing my customers all the time, but that's where like I am doing a lot, and I think there's an opportunity to do less of certain things at some point. But it's just I put my attention on where the company needs it the most at the time.
Okay. Well, your exuberance and your energy and enthusiasm for the product and the company shows, like, for sure. I'm like, I would totally buy from you.
Thank you. I mean, I love it. Like we do really make a difference in especially people that are towing and hauling. You're going on these like big family trips, like, and we can make a better, safer driving experience. And that like brings me so much joy. I see a lot of these like new conversion vans and they're like swaying all over the place. And you don't have to live like that, right? Like that's what, like we can help. And that just, I love when we can do that. My son, who is 15 though, he's like, Mom, I know Hellwig probably would make their life better. Like he just is so annoyed by me because I always want to like point out that like Hellwig could make someone's life better.
I see people like that on the freeway all the time and they're swaying. I'm like, good God, get that under control. Next time I'm going to be like, hold up a sign. I'll drive.
Yeah.
Call Hellwig.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I want to carry one of those signs with me. Like, call me. I can solve that.
Yeah. I'm just imagining maybe you have like one of those vehicles wrapped with like your brand on it and your phone number or your website, right?
Yeah. We've joked about like having a ticker, the ticker like signs like, hey, like where you can type something into it, but we haven't done that yet.
Oh, I think that would be a great idea. Like we get a lot of visibility, especially driving around on the road. And there are people out there who maybe have those sagging issues and maybe they don't have a clue as to what to do about it. Like I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And I could educate them.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
Yes, you could. So, Melanie, I know you've been extremely successful in growing Hellwig's sales, brand presence, and partnerships while also staying hands-on with your team. How do you balance being a strategic leader with staying connected to your workforce?
That is a great question. And it takes balance. So I do several things. So I think one of the things that helps me stay the most strategic, weirdly, and I've talked to a few friends who do this as well, but airplane, like I don't know if there's something about the air, but when I can get up in the air, I can get into that, like more of that 30,000 foot view of like what needs to change. And I think that is that like getting a little bit of time outside the office does help me think about these like bigger picture strategic plans. And I haven't been traveling as much recently. And so I've tried to like, how do I build this in a little bit more into this strategic like planning versus just like heavy in the tactics, which is easy to do when you're in it every day. And so I've been building in I've been really playing with this because I think it's so important to have that like 30,000 foot view. And so, I've gone on walks. If I'm really stuck on something, I like go for a drive and, maybe it's just to go get a coffee in the afternoon, but just get out of the space that I'm in so I can think about a bigger picture.
That's great. So use the 30,000 foot overview. So not even metaphorically speaking, but literally getting on an airplane, being at 30,000 feet above, like help kind of open up your brain space, huh? That's interesting.
It does. I think because you I've been trying to like think about like, why is that? It might be because you're like, I'm shutting off a lot of other noise. And I can't go talk to anyone, right? Like I'm by myself in a more like isolated way. And I don't know, or maybe it's the air, but it's magic.
Yeah, that reminds me, not being able to talk and just having it be, quiet. Have you ever tried one of those float state tanks where you're like literally floating in the water and like it's all about sensory deprivation? Like you can't hear anything. It's so surreal.
Have
But
you
yeah,
done? No,
it's
I
cool.
haven't.
Oh, I highly recommend trying that if you're really looking to kind of just turn everything off and just really kind of open up your mind and expand. It's a really kind of cool and surreal experience.
That's amazing. I will try that. It's been on my list, and I also have this like that is a lot of like no noise, right? It's like a very quiet. I enjoy a bit of noise, so yeah. But I'll have to try it and tell you how it goes.
Yes, please do. Yeah, speaking of noise, I'm the type person if it's too quiet, I'm like, what's wrong? There's
Yeah.
something wrong. I need
I know.
music. I need music or something in the background. Right?
Exactly.
So, Melanie, where are you located?
So we manufacture everything in Visalia, California. So we manufacture everything in the United States. But right now I'm in Visalia, California in my office here.
Okay, this is probably an ignorant question. I don't know my geography very well, but were you near the fires at all?
No, so we're actually in Central California. So we were pretty significantly north of that by maybe like 300 miles. And so where we are in California, we grow everything. So heavy ag. So I'm now like I had to be in Southern California over the weekend. Took me an hour longer to get home, and like Monday morning, I'm upset because there's a tractor in my way, right? Like I don't have like that's my traffic, and I just have to like pass him. Like, but it's a very different experience than Southern California.
Okay, very cool. I love that. Yeah, the traffic, especially in Southern California, gets a little bit crazy. That's one of the reasons why my husband and I moved away from there and moved to Phoenix, which traffic is like not bad at all. So
Yeah, I know. I love Phoenix too.
Oh, you do? When was the last time you were here?
I was there. I have a friend that lives outside of Phoenix, and I just love the red rocks and just, yeah, it's a beautiful place. So she's like right up against this like red rock, and we hike it when I'm there with her. So I love that.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Melanie, if somebody wanted to learn more about you and your products, where would you send them?
Yeah, so hellwigproducts.com is my website. I also, if you wanted to connect with me personally, LinkedIn is a great spot. So Melanie Hellwig White on LinkedIn. And then we're on the social channels under Hellwig Products.
And how do you spell Hellwig?
That's a great question. So it's HELLWIG. So the word hell and wig.
Okay, perfect. So hot as hell and hair replacement. Got it.
Yes. Yeah, it's a German, and it's I want to say it's blonde hair. So, but yes.
Oh, how fitting.
Yeah.
I love it. So Melanie, this has been an absolute blast. Is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with, words of wisdom, etc.?
Yeah. So I just think I really want for everyone to enjoy what they do. I think this is so, I love your channel because it's really that you can see that everyone that's coming on is really passionate. And I think that's like the gift that we all get to have, right? Is to do something that we love. And I'm so grateful to be able to do that myself. And I want that for so many other people too.
I want that for other people too. Like, can we just be here to support and love on one another, and like let's just help each other be happy.
I know we only have this one precious life, and so it's better when we're all supporting and loving each other. So I think that's why I've just enjoyed this so much.
Exactly. Well, I support you, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Melanie.